is it one of those situations where, because I know that in a lot of the black communities, and I can't necessarily speak to a lot of other communities, but from what I've heard in a lot of the black families and communities, that it's almost like a don't ask, don't ever mention it, don't let anything leave out of the household. If something happens, or if an uncle or somebody touches somebody or does something inappropriate with a child, in a lot of households, they literally sweep it under the rug. So it's not anything that you can necessarily deal with, or we're not dealing with it properly. And is that something that happened to you?
Absolutely, 100%. It, it was completely swept under the rug, and I lashed out. It really started with like rebellion. So a lot of times people say that when people, especially women, experience any kind of sexual assault, especially in their childhood, they go either two ways. Like they become complete prudes and like, don't want anything to do with men,
Hmm.
or they go the opposite route where they get very promiscuous. And so I do think that there is another route. I think that the other route would be to get help, to address the situation, to get professional help, and to have a community to support the child going through the different feelings and emotions. Because in childhood sexual assault, there is something within us that is triggered and awakened far too soon. And so, while it is traumatizing and while it is horrific, it's also very confusing because it is our bodies, and the things that are happening to us also later become a source of pleasure. And so these are things that a child does not have the capabilities to understand nor process. And it becomes very confusing how to deal with the opposite sex or the sex that created or did the assault, um, in a way that is healthy, because we weren't able to talk about it. So we don't even know how to interact with people
Yeah.
in a way that normal people that haven't experienced assault do.
Yep. Were you always this articulate and being able to communicate, or is this something that you've just recently mastered?
I mastered. Wow,
Well,
what a
well,
high
let me
honor.
tell you
Thank
why I
you.
asked this question. Let me because the story that you told was just so mind boggling. It's like, no, that's not the person that I'm talking to right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So if I don't know if the people know, I mean, it does say it here on the banner, but I am HIV
Okay, so hold
positive.
on, hold on. Let me ask. Let me frame it. Let me frame it. So, for the people that are not familiar with you, right? Can you
Right.
tell us the story in a general sense? Can you tell us a story? You can go into as much detail as you want to. And I have time. Can you tell us a story of how you come to contract HIV in the first place for the people that's not familiar with your story?
All right. Of course. So, um, my name is Bianca, and I'm HIV positive. I've been HIV positive since 2019, and it's I can, deduce it to it being a night that I was drunk and I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But the truth of the matter is that that really wasn't the case. This was kind of like a culmination of all of the bad decisions that I made, all of the pain, all of the trauma, just kind of imploding and exploding at the same time on one night. And that is essentially what happened, the day that or the night that I met the person that infected me, which intentionally infected me with HIV. I was a broken vessel, like practically lifeless. I felt completely unlovable, completely unworthy. I felt like I had no value. And the reason that I felt this way is because I was looking for my value in other people, specifically men, um, especially since having been abused at such a young age and having that kind of just persist in my life as I got older. I found that my value was solely tied to what I could provide to a person or what I could provide for a man. And so it was really hard when I realized how disposable I was, and how no matter how much of myself I gave to these people, they never reciprocated it or never kind of gave me the validation that I needed. And obviously, no one is ever going to do that. My validation comes from within and it comes from God. But at that point in my life, I wasn't aware of that, and that concept was just a little bit too far out of my reach. And
When
it
you
took,
say that he intentionally gave it to you, what do you mean
mhm.
by he intentionally gave it to you?
So the person that infected me with HIV knew that they were HIV positive and chose to not get on medication or see a doctor and continue to sleep with women unprotected without
Still to this
disclosing their
day?
status. No, not. Um, it's hard to say. I don't really like talking about this in particular because it's hard to say what the truth is about his status at the moment. But according to his Instagram page, he has been deceased for about 2 years now, or something like that.
No way, B.
Yeah,
You gotta be kidding me.
it was. I ended up being in a relationship with this person, and this person had made up their mind, basically that this was going to be their fate. I don't whether there was no other way around it. So I think they were just trying to do as much as they could with their life in the time that they had left. I don't, yeah, there was no intention of going to the doctor ever.
And whatever you don't feel comfortable talking about, don't, you don't have to feel like you pressure or anything like that. Like, this is a really low pressure. It's really, educational. And I want to deep dive also into what it means because a lot of people are not educated. A lot of people, it just seems like, they're out here.
Right.
And honestly, if I could just be absolutely frank, I see guys all the time. I talk to guys all the time. I see them having conversations. And sometimes they're laughing about it and they don't even know, and they'll just, quote unquote, see it through. They don't wear protection. They don't marry before they carry. I think that we live in a society where it's very promiscuous. Me, myself, as a person that advocates spiritually, and I live my life based off of a spiritual doctrine, in the Holy Bible. Um, I believe that we can prevent a lot of this by marrying and then aligning ourselves with the way that we're supposed to do according to the scriptures, right? But the way that society is going today, it seems as though it's more popular and it's becoming more popular to celebrate the whole idea of doing things out of purpose, right? And
Mm.
so, at what point did you then come to the realization like life is not over for me? And what did you feel prior to that? What did you feel and how did you find out that you had HIV in the first place?
Okay. So, well,
I know I asked a
um,
lot. I'm sorry.
no, it's
And
perfectly fine.
wherever you have the floor, this is your platform. I'm just the person that's facilitating the
Oh my
conversation.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you for your generosity. And just to clarify, I am pretty open to discussing anything. I am an open book. The thing with the question that you asked is that um, I the per basically I met a group of women that he also infected, and
Mm,
one of the women in particular had resources and was very determined to find out more about the person that we all were in love with and we were all dating at the same time and who did this horrible thing to us, right? And I mean, I found out the craziest things. Like this person that I was dating for 8 months, I didn't even know his name. Like the name that he gave me wasn't his name. Like it was just crazy the amount of things that I found out. A lot of people were accusing me of a lot of different things. And I'm like, listen, I found out the same time that y'all found out. Like,
right, right.
the person that I didn't know this person at all. And so when she hired a PI, a private investigator, and there was we couldn't locate any proof of like no death certificate or anything like that. And so it's not to like create a conspiracy theory. Like that's the last thing I want to do. I don't know. I don't have information about that. So that's the only thing I could like just say, oh, according to his page, this is what they say, but I don't know